Good evening, family. Welcome to another session, Sunday evening session with Janice and Brian. We are so delighted to have you with us this evening, and we pray that everyone has had a blessed and wonderful week. In spite of everything that's going on in the world today with COVID, the pandemic, the economic status, we want to encourage you that this too shall pass. I was listening to Bernie Sanders on yesterday, and he is really pushing for the government to hurry up and make a decision. I think they have until midnight tonight to make a decision in reference to the stimulus packet. That is a necessity. It's not like people want to go and just throw money up in the air. People are really in need, financial need at this time. You still have people that are without jobs. You still have people that are drawing unemployment, and there are other people that need unemployment. So what I want to encourage you all today is to be mindful of others. During this season, this beautiful Christmas season, think about giving to someone that is really in need. And I'm not talking about toys for kids or anything like that. I'm talking about giving something that can be more of a benefit or a lasting effect. You got people out there that really don't know where their next meal is coming from. You got people that are right on the board that are facing an eviction. So whatever we can do to help those people, we really need to do it. For those of us that have been fortunate enough not to lose our jobs, to still maintain during this pandemic, I'm sure you can find some way to help somebody that is in need. Without further ado, we're not going to talk about that today. We're actually going to focus on what is happening with the black family at this time.
Can you, I know you talked about Bernie Sanders, but before we actually get into our subject, can you tell us what Bernie was pushing for? Some of the things that, you know, that he was talking about.
Bernie, I've always been a Bernie Sanders fan. That was just me. He was my choice for president of the United States. People want to say, Bernie's a socialist. Bernie's a socialist. Bernie believes in health care for all, across the board. Doesn't matter if you have millions or you have zero. Bernie believes in health care across the board. Bernie also pushed for wage increase. He believed in that $15 an hour wage increase. Bernie says you have billionaires out here that are paying 1% or less in taxes. Now, how does that sound?
As opposed to
the middle class
that's paying over 35–40%.
How can you even do that? Who justifies such? So Bernie Sanders says if we have to stay here all night, we're going to pass this stimulus. No, it may not be what we've expected. It may not be the $1,200, but there will be a stimulus passed. And one of the things that needs to happen is they need to do something about the eviction that's coming up on December the 31st. So I'm going to end that right now and let Brian break us into the subject area we're going to be discussing today about what is happening with our black families.
So what you were talking about is actually a good segue into what we want to discuss today, because that is even relevant when you talk about black families. Probably the people group that are in most need as it relates to a stimulus package is black people. Okay.
Yes, definitely.
So when America experiences a recession, black people are in a depression. And that's the way it has always been. That's the way it continues to be. So like you were saying, what we have to look at, I think, also is this, sweetheart, that we have to make an assessment of our community and understand that we can't continue to depend on the government to solve all of our problems. So some of the things that Bernie Sanders is pushing within the Senate and on the Senate floor and trying to get his fellow colleagues to wake up to recognizing is that the American people are hurting.
Yes.
We know that. We know that the COVID pandemic has caused many, many atrocities that would not have happened if it were not for this pandemic coming on the scene and devastating families, devastating communities, devastating cities, states. So what Barney is trying to make them understand is that this thing is not going away. It's not going away anytime soon, even though a vaccine is here. The stimulus package doesn't even put a Band-Aid on really what's happening.
No, it doesn't.
This is long overdue. I think he pushes the fact that black people, poor people in general, is the ones that are the ones that suffering the most.
Yes.
And have suffered the most, just as well as black people, as it relates to COVID, probably have experienced more deaths.
Well, you know, Anthony Fauci, Dr. Fauci did say that. Mm-hmm. And the reason being, I want people to understand this. The reason that the minorities are being more affected by COVID, and I need you to understand this, is because of the pre-existing conditions that we were already plagued with before COVID. Mm-hmm. And if I have some nurses, I see Crystal is watching, Crystal Kemp. Thank you, Crystal. You understand this as well by working in the healthcare field. We got people that are diabetics, that have high blood pressure, and these are young people. And believe it or not, the majority of them are black men. Mm-hmm. And I've been seeing this for over 30 years. So if you hit them with COVID and they already have a pre-existing condition, what do you think is going to happen?
It escalates.
It escalates them. We're not getting it. And it angers me to see that our people are so neglected. Mm-hmm. It's almost like you knew this 20 years ago.
Oh, they did.
They knew this.
When you look back in the history, SARS, all of the viruses that have hit before that have affected poor communities more than any other community. So this is not new. It's not new. No.
And now they're saying that another strand of COVID is coming that is more deadly than the one that's already here. Anybody in healthcare know if you got one strand and one follows it, it's going to be worse than the one that's already out there. So people, wear your mask.
Yeah. And so, so like I say, that's a good segue and go back to what you were talking about with Barney Sanders. Another thing that Barney is making known, because he knows that this is his last hurrah.
Yes, he does.
Okay, is that the corporate tax breaks in this country is a slap in the face, not only to the American people, but it is a slap in the face to those poor people that have been oppressed for 200 years.
400 years.
400 years if you add in the Jim Crow segregation and all of the rest of the unjust treatment that we've had to experience in this country. So, like I said, it's a segue into what we want to talk about, the destruction of the black family. What happened to the black family? And what is still happening to the black family
today?
Even today. We can look at some critical points of history to try to assess the problem and try to come up with solutions. But we need to talk about what is going on as it relates to the annihilation of the black family and the dismantling of the black family now more than ever, because the black family is under attack now.
Yes.
More than ever.
More than ever.
If we look at the propaganda, if we look at the commercialization of families, now we see that the promotion of black and white families are pushed as far as the mixing of a black woman being with a white male is being pushed and promoted by way of TV commercials and propaganda more than anything else right now on the television. There is a all-out onslaught, a war against traditional black families with a black male and a black
woman.
female,
That's exactly
having
right.
black children being together. And we have to realize that that is not by chance. We have to also realize that that is not the norm, even though we have accepted it as norm. It is not the norm. What is the norm is for people that are of the same ethnicity to want to be with each other, to continue and further promote their race survival. So that's why you see Asians procreate with Asians. You understand?
Koreans.
That's right, which is part of the Asian group.
Yes.
Latinos procreate with Latinos. You see very little of mixing going on between those ethnicities.
Exactly.
So, but when black people, especially when we're talking about the descendants of slaves in this country, want to promote healthy black families and push healthy black families, there is for some reason a push against that.
Exactly
or
right.
People that are in power, so to speak, then malign those that say we want healthy black families back. We want to see black men marry black women and have black children, grow up, teach, educate those black children to be raised properly in a black family. We want a black man that stays with a black woman through thick and thin. We want a black woman that knows how to stay with a black man through thick and thin. We want a black man that honors, respects, and treats his woman with dignity and integrity, and says that I'm the protector of this family and I won't let anything happen to this family. We want black women that says that I respect my man, protecting me, honoring me, and I honor him through that. I am one that has integrity, and I humble myself to this man as being his mate, his love. And this is very powerful. Equal in the capacity of an importance of family and structure and survival, but different when it comes to physical makeup, when it comes to strength. You understand? So we have to get back to wanting to see black families make it, you know, and we have to start speaking out against the media and against society steering black women to white men, steering the black athlete to white women. Let me tell you something that I found out in my research this week, is that athletes, black athletes that are making millions of dollars, that owners set up, especially for the new freshman athletes that are coming in on the team, they have what they call a freshman party, where they set up and bring white women to the party specifically to target these young black men that have just signed multi-million-dollar contracts, to either steer them to be with them or to infiltrate them to get parts of their monies and keep them from being able to invest it fully back into community, into family. Their whole main purpose is to take them away from what they knew and what they grew up in and who made them what they are, and to introduce them to something, isolating them, alienating them from their people, from their loved ones, and then begin to subtly mind manipulate them, brainwash them into thinking that, oh, you're in a different class now. You don't need to associate with those people that you once associated with. Not educating them on how to properly bring those people up and to help and to instruct, but they train them to totally isolate themselves
from their own
people, and to buy into and to placate to the concept that a beautiful, white, attractive woman will bow down, worship you. You will be a god to her, which further maligns the black woman. So they shape the black woman to be nothing more than just a hood rat that's not worthy of your giftedness and your athleticness.
And sharing your wealth.
That's exactly right. And subtly, like I said, brainwash them into believing that somehow the European woman is more attractive, more sensible, more respectable, more humble. Now, understand this. With that type of psychology being introduced into those athletes, young athletes, and not only that, a lot of them that they go to college to play football. They do not go to college to get educated. So a lot of them come out of college just as uneducated as they were when they went in college. Exactly. So we have to understand that. And there are certain things that are put in place to try to help them as far as money managers, but because they are uneducated about finances, they're not financially literate, they're not educated on life, really. They don't understand life. A lot of them are used, a lot of them are abused, a lot of them are taken advantage of. Their money is sifted through the system to where accountants, to where lawyers, to where bookkeepers get the majority of their monies, and then they're left with nothing. So we have to understand that the destruction of the black family is happening on all levels, and is being pushed by a society that intends to do away with the traditional black family. They do not, and there is no promotion. And this is what kind of turned me out about Black Lives Matter. Okay. The Black Lives Matter mantra for up to about 4 weeks ago, they were also an organization that promoted the doing away with the traditional black family. They came out vehemently against the actual order and structure of a black man and a black woman producing a black baby. So now we have to be careful as it relates to what we sign on to. We fall into traps of slogans as black people. If it sounds good, we jump on the bandwagon. We don't do any research to understand what this organization actually promotes. So we have to go back to the drawing board and we have to begin to look at everything. That's right. Because even though, you know, an organization say they support you, you have to look at the money behind the organization that pushes it. And it could be that they've got black faces out front, but behind the scene, those black faces are getting millions of dollars to say what they say, and yet their agenda is not pro-black. It's actually anti-black. So we have to understand what is actually going on when we talk about the destruction of the black family. So it's real. It is real. People don't believe it's real. They don't believe it. So let's look at just some brief history. Okay. With some of the things that I would say were staples in the fabric of the undoing of the black family. Okay. One is from the 1890s to the early 1920s. And we know that 1919, 1920, women received the right to vote in 1920. Exactly. The women's liberation movement was pushed in 1919. Everybody knows by Susan B. Anthony was one of the main proponents of the women liberation movement. The women liberation movement was born out of the concept of black men obtaining the right to vote, okay, via the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, okay? So black men actually getting the right to vote, and white women, when that happened, began to protest. Okay, one thing that they began to say is if a black has a right to affect power, what they considered power was politics at that time, okay, then we also, as white women, we should be placed higher than the black male who is a slave, okay, or a former enslaved. Thus, that started in the 1890s a movement that sought to dismantle the power structure of the white politician being only men. Okay? So the women liberation movement had nothing to do with liberating black women. As a matter of fact, there was a push also by the same liberation movement to keep black women serving as housewives, not housewives, but as house slaves in the form of maids and helpers. Okay? There was no push for black women to, at that time, to vote. So when we see the right to vote for women in 1920, the black women is only included as an indirect object.
Wow.
If you were not a woman, you would not have been included in the whole structure of what the women's liberation movement was seeking to do. Now, having said that, okay, we fast forward to 1935, FDR and the New Deal. Part of the New Deal was based on the promotion of women now being able to enter into the workforce. Okay, that's why after the war, a lot of women, and even during the war, worked in the factories. Majority white women. That was a result of the 1919 push from the white women's liberation movement that put them into the factories. Now, those blacks that made their way into the factories after the war, in the early 1960s, okay?
Yes.
You have Lyndon B. Johnson with the Civil Rights Act. Okay, you have his Great Society. Okay, now we know Roosevelt puts in the Social Security Act.
Yes.
Okay, part of the Social Security Act was the aid for dependent children. Okay, these were white women whose husbands were killed at war.
Yes.
Okay, that's what the aid for dependent children, that was the initial, that was the original, what the aid for dependent children, that monies went to. Did not go to black widows whose black husbands
were killed.
No. Okay, they were not included in that. So we see the aid for dependent children. So we get up to 1960, the Great Society with Lyndon B. Johnson. Lyndon B. Johnson kind of reworks the New Deal, incorporates it in the Civil Rights Act. And his war on poverty now targets the ghettos based off of, at the time, his secretary, which was Daniel Patrick Mahoney. And his letter that he writes, his essay that he writes, I talked about this 3 or 4 shows ago, which I read the whole essay. The destruction of the black family.
Wow.
What was happening in the black family? Patrick Moynihan stated that the black family was falling apart because it did not incorporate the father in the family anymore. Okay, so now let's talk about this Facebook family, YouTube family. How was the black father removed? I mentioned aid for dependent children. Initially went to white women.
Right.
Okay. Up under the Great Society and the War on Poverty, that money was redirected under Lyndon B. Johnson to incorporate women that were having children in the ghettos. States would receive grants and loans, millions of dollars without any limit, to assist those women that were having children. Guess what that does? Part of the act, the revision of that, stated that the male could not be in the home.
Wow.
Okay, so what did that do? It produced women to having babies out of wedlock. And if they had a husband and they were having children and they were locked into poverty, then one way to receive monies, even if they were married and the husband was unemployed, okay, one way to receive monies was by that husband having to leave the household.
Yes.
Even if they remained married, if they could show that the husband had left the home, then it would qualify them for monies. Now, I don't want to put it all on that from a standpoint of women, because our women were at a disadvantage. It was a system that they were being locked into unconsciously. So what happens in the 1960s, after the Vietnam War, in the late 60s, going into the early 70s, after the Vietnam War, you saw the destabilization of the manufacturers. Okay, so the automotive industry, yes, all of these factories, they began to introduce automation. The majority of the people that worked in these factories at that time, in the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s, on to the mid, up into the 80s, were African-American men. Okay, with the destabilization and of industrialization and the creation of automation, meaning mechanics, robotics, machinery taking the place or being able to do the work in the labor of those men, it caused many African-American men to lose their jobs. And then not only that, to further that, you had now the relocation of some of these manufacturers to other nations with cheaper labor wages.
Yes.
Okay, so the black family was under attack from our government. The system attacked the black family. And because we had, and another thing, let's go back to this. And I know I'm jumping all over the place.
That's okay.
But one thing in sight of that, also we had the falling apart of black businesses.
That's exactly right.
During the integration era.
Yes, that's so true.
So when integration became the law of the land, a lot of black businesses that were owned were now being put out of business because they could not get the local support from their own community. Black people started frequenting the white businesses.
That's exactly right.
And favoring white businesses over their own. A further separation. Now we have the economic, disparity being introduced because now our black business owners are having to go out of business. You have families decimated. You have black men now feel it's better to leave the woman so that she can at least get aid from the government. Wow. Rather than to stay there and not be able to provide. So there was so many different dynamics. And how the system dismantled the black family. And they continue even to this day. Then you had Bill Clinton to come along in 1996 and introduce the Welfare Reform Act, which said that for these black women that are having children, they cannot receive but a certain amount of monies. They cannot have but a certain number of children, and they have to actively be looking for
a job.
That's exactly right. So I'm just paraphrasing.
I remember that.
I'm summarizing. I'm summarizing that
yes,
for you.
Yes,
now, a
yes.
further attack on the black family. Now, particularly targeting the black woman, because the black man is not in the house anymore.
No.
So now, Bill Clinton brags about the actual that he is the president that dismantled the welfare system as it relates to black women. Okay, so now you have a targeted attack by the system on black women. Though they stated that this was put in place to encourage black women
to work,
not only to work, but to be independent of the man in the process of working, and to be able to stand on her own 2 feet.
As Nancy says, forced immigration.
Yeah, forced integration. Forced integration. Absolutely. We have that. So the system has continued to dismantle black families, to destroy black families. And what I want black people to know is that this is not by chance. The promotion of black women being with white men, the incarceration of black men purposely, okay, through the system being set up and designed. When you look at Reagan's war on drugs, that continued to the Bushes, that continued with the Clintons, with his 3 strikes, you're outlaws.
Yes.
All of these things, all of them signed on by the newly elected president, Joe Biden. See, when we know our history, we understand that nothing changes when you got the same thing in place. Okay, so this attack to disrupt, dismantle, and to make certain that black families never again have a traditional foundation, that is the whole premise of what is going on now. It is to make sure that there will be no more traditional black family, that there will be a brown family. You understand?
Yes.
Okay, but not a black family that can relate himself and that can actually tie himself to the atrocities and the mistreatment of his ancestors. Okay, so we have to be careful, because the education system, that's another system as it relates to the destruction of black families. The education system and the integration of education was a systematic tool used to further dismantle black families. Okay, so we are under attack.
Yes.
In every facet of society. We cannot be blind to these things. We have to be conscious. We have to be aware, Facebook family, YouTube family. We have to understand the history and what is going on and why some things are being promoted above all other things. Why do you not see traditionally black men and black women on these TV shows anymore? You have to ask yourself that. You have to ask yourself, why is there a black woman being promoted, being with a white man on every commercial now? Every holiday commercial. I want you all to look at this. Pay attention to it. Look at it. Every holiday commercial now is a black woman with a white man. Why? I cannot stress this enough to you, family, that they do not see. If you get enough mixing in there, and they can continue to rewrite the narrative and the history of who we are and create a pseudo ethnicity, a pseudo race, and you do away with the whole slavery issue, you understand? Then the discussion on reparations becomes irrelevant. It doesn't matter. It's not relevant anymore. Because now the America doesn't have black people anymore. We have brown people. Don't get caught up on, when I say black, understand I use black as an identification mark. Do you understand?
Yes, yes.
It identifies those that are entitled to be compensated for the labor of their ancestors that built this country. You have to define, you have to designate, you have to identify yourself with those that were maltreated, ill-treated, dehumanized, and this country owe us because it was our ancestors. You've paid reparations to every other community, and I just learned 1 week ago that the LGBTQ, I guess I'm saying it right,
exactly,
community
is about to.
They have put a reparations act on the floor for them. Now, and listen,
every black person ought to be just.
Let me say this: if what a person does in his or her personal life and in their bedroom, that's fine. That's what you do. So you don't get any qualm from me. But when you can, when there is, and they are considered to be an alternate community, they are considered to be also now their own particular sort of like ethnic group.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you have the transgenders, you have all these different facets of people now fitting into this conglomerate.
Right.
Okay. And they're saying we were mistreated.
Yes.
For 100 years also.
Okay.
We couldn't come out. We were denied certain benefits from the government. We didn't have civil rights.
Right.
They just recently got civil rights. Okay. So all of these things, they said, hold up, this country owe us.
They were denied services.
Yes, all the same thing. So we have to look at what is truly happening and what is going on when we talk about this country not wanting to promote the black family being empowered, being strong again, men standing up with integrity for their children. I don't care if you're divorced.
It doesn't matter.
I'm divorced.
Exactly.
And I still respect and honor my children's mother.
That's right, Brian.
I teach my children to respect and honor their mother. Me and my children don't miss a beat. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
She knows that if anything that she needs that I can help with as the father of her children, if it's within my power, I'm going to do what I can to make sure my children are taken care of.
Yes.
So there's certain things that a man does that nobody have to prime him to do. It is just because that is innately what a man is supposed to do. And the same way for Janice as my companion. She don't have to prime me. I put her needs before my own. She knows that she's protected. She knows that I've got her back. So all of these things, her children, I do the same thing for them.
That's exactly right.
I do not discriminate as it relates to her children, my children. See, I refuse to let the system dictate to me who my family is and who my family isn't. What I choose to do is have a big family, big enough that if I need to take on the government, I can call all my family together. And I can say, look here, Dad is going down here to this courthouse, and we're going to raise hell.
I need all of y'all to be ready.
And I need all the children, I need all the grandchildren, the cousins, the uncles, whatever you, and get your friends. And we're going down.
Come on.
And we're going, but that is what a black family. See, and I can go back to what a black family was prior to being colonialized. It was a thing of beauty. Okay. So a lot of times when your oppressors see what you had and they're jealous of what you had, then they seek to destroy what you had.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Because they cannot reproduce it in their own culture. You understand that? So they create another culture to get rid of the beauty, to get rid of the foundation. See, they want to erase that. And that's what is happening as it relates to the black family. they want to erase the black family.
You know, Brian, I have a question. How should we feel knowing this? How can we walk around here and exist knowing that we're targeted? Knowing that they really want to eradicate us. And I just don't think people really get it.
You don't, and that is a good question. I think we have to become proactive in our reaction in saying that. When I say that, what I am saying is we have to refuse to buy into the societal engineering or re-engineering of our families. We have to refuse to participate into being with someone other than who we are.
Exactly.
You understand?
That's it.
And listen, I'm not saying that black and white people cannot fall in love. See, I can go back to the Virginia law. And I understand that. I'm not saying black people and white people can't fall in love. If it's true love, more power to you. What I'm saying is the system. We have to buck against the system. We have to tell the system, no, we will not let you define who we marry. We will not let you define or tell us that our black men and our black women are not worthy of being with each other.
Exactly. Because that's what they're doing.
That's what they're doing. And then allow them to put us with another race. Group.
Yes,
you understand that?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying, and I want to be clear, that if it's your choice and you fall in love, then you have all of our blessings.
That's it.
We black and white people fall in love all the time.
All the time.
That is not anything new. But like I said, we have to go back to what the engineering concept, the system, what is being forcibly placed upon us to say that this is what you should do. No, this is not what I should do. And this is not what defines black beauty. So if you allow them to interject self-hate into your community, to where you hate yourself enough to where you hate your brother or sister and refuse to be with your brother or sister, then that is the underlying problem with us as a black people. Self-hatred causes you to hate one another. Okay? So we should not, in them introducing that, literally says that you don't love yourself enough to seek out someone that looks like you.
Wow.
What it promotes is self-hatred cloaked in diversity. Everybody understand that? You understand that?
Repeat.
Self-hate cloaked in diversity. So they promote being part of a mixed family. Okay? To say that is the new norm. No, what it is self-hate. Teaches you to hate yourself. Because now, guess what? Cloaked in you being diverse and falling in line with what society says is now normal. Okay? So you always hear me say this. When black women talk about how much, and all black women have been hurt more than any other group.
Yes, we have.
Yes, we have. The world, not just in this country. Our black women have been disrespected, and we're going to have to do a show on that.
Yes.
Because I want black women to understand their worth. So I don't like just calling women titles, queens and all of this, and then they don't know what a queen is. They have no idea on what the true understanding of a queen is. Not somebody that wears a crown. No. See, we got the Queen Elizabeth concept of what a queen is. No, it's much deeper than that, because it speaks to a spiritual concept and a spiritual level that most black women don't tap into because they do not understand their value. They don't understand their worth. So what I always say is, when you find a black woman that ostracizes, that look down, that talks about a black man, You have to get to the root cause of the problem
Exactly.
of why she hates black men so much, okay, that she actually hates herself as well. So when we look at that, when we begin to diagnose that, what we actually find out is that the black woman that have been hurt, the black woman that did not have a father figure, the black woman that does not have the man supporting her in reference to her children, his children, the black woman that is working 2-3 jobs, trying to go to school, trying to support her children with a deadbeat father on the other end, and I just call it what it is. No disrespect to my brothers, but when you do not act as a man act,
and you do not take care of your children,
that's right, you do not deserve to be called a man. Now, that's what we have to start saying to our brothers and instructing them on how to be men. And in doing that, we help them to realize that you must be accountable for your actions. You see, a man does more than just make babies. A man understands how to take care and protect the woman he made the baby with.
Yes.
Okay, so let me get back to this. So the black woman that disrespects the black man, it is due to, and when a black woman disrespects a black man, a lot of times she herself becomes calloused because of certain disrespects that have been placed upon her, certain mistreatment that have been placed upon her as the black man. So now, not only does she hate the black man, but she hates herself for allowing the black man to do what he did to her.
That's it,
whether it be father, whether it be the brother, whether it be a former husband, whether it be boyfriend, it doesn't matter. So now there's a double hatred going on.
Yes. Yes.
So now it's easy to come in to make something more attractive than the black man that hurt her and caused her to hate herself, who now she's in, now giving that out same energy to the black man and hating the black man double time. It's easy now to promote that the grass is greener on the other side. That the white man will do all the things that the black man won't do. Well, let me tell you something. The truth of the matter is that the white man will do worse than the black man, and he conceals it better. Okay. All right, so now, listen. We must. And this is nothing, like I said, white-black love is fine if it's true love. But the system is doing this. The system is pushing black hatred amongst each other. We should not allow the system to push black hatred
they shouldn't dictate.
Amongst ourselves. That's right. We should not let them push that amongst ourselves. Okay. We are better than that as a people. So I encourage everybody today, and I didn't even discuss some of the other things that I wanted to discuss, and I'm passionate about this because it is a shame that we are falling for the okie doke again. Mm. It is a shame that we prefer someone else above us. Let me tell you something. I don't care how that person, what that person tells you, slavery still exists. Okay? All you got to do is go talk to somebody, and I've got plenty of friends that work for Hyundai that tell me all the time.
Yes.
Brian, the way those Koreans treat us is worse than our animals.
Yes, that's exactly.
Okay? Now, if you fall in love with a Korean and that Korean is willing to forsake that family to be with you, more power to you.
Because they have to forsake their family.
That's exactly right. But if you do not, if you are introduced to this form of integration, of mixing to make a brown family, then you're going to serve, you're going to do what the blacks have always done. You're going to be a servant in that family. You're not going to be respected as a man or a woman. And I think that's what we lose sight of. We lose sight of the fact that how I am viewed by this family, regardless of what the person says as it relates to how much they love me,
how I am
how I am viewed by the family.
That's it.
is a particular way.
That's it.
Okay. So now I'm going to end on that, because we all, I mean, everybody viewing this program, yourself, there's down the line, if we go farther enough back in our past, we only have to go back 100+ years. We can see some white mixing just because of the mistreatment of our black women being raped by the slave master.
Exactly.
So we know that in pretty much every family, African American, there's some white lineage that disrupted the chain. You understand? That broke the chain. What I'm saying is, now that we have the capacity and authority, and we're not limited
make the decision,
but to reinforce the chain again, we need to reinforce the chain again. We do not need to continue to allow the chain to be broken. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So that's that on the destruction of the black family. Facebook family, we're going to get ready to end because we're a little bit over time.
Yes.
But we do appreciate you all for listening, and we appreciate you all for tuning in. And catch the YouTube channel, Men and Women of Destiny. Subscribe, like. Yes. Just hit like 100 times. And there's a Cash App on there. You can donate if you like it.
Brian, you love money.
Everybody I want to do something for the community. Yes. I have money. So let me make that clear. It's not that I love money. Love of money is the root of all evil. So, okay, so let me correct Janice and what everybody knows. I don't need nobody money. I got my own. Okay. What I do for the community. And those that know me know that you're not given to a cause that will not help somebody. That's how simple that is.
Okay. All right. I stand to be corrected. Thank you, Mr. Watts.
Yes.
And your money is my money. We love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I'm going to share this video, and I'm going to do a watch party. And I want you to share this video with as many people as you can. You know, we're approaching 2021. Everybody's looking for some big pie, bright light in the sky. And I do want Brian to address that next weekend, because I don't think people really understand what they're talking about when they're saying, oh, we're in the Aquarian age. Come on now.
Yeah, we could talk about that. We can break down understanding what an age is, and understanding the Aquarian as opposed to the Piscean age. There's a transition happening within the universal, constellations. So we could talk about that. That is purely spiritual. A lot of it, from a standpoint of the astronomical shifting of the gods. But we can talk about that if you want to talk about that.
Well, whatever. We just want to be in position and in alignment. So whatever greatness or blessings that are there, we want to be in position to receive.
Absolutely.
And we want to be able to receive it.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for joining us tonight. We appreciate you so much. And I do want to get a shout out to two of my dear friends, and they've been dedicated in watching this show from day one. And that is my dear friend Phyllis Moore in Atlanta, and my dear friend Sanithia Perkins, out of Selma, Alabama. We love you guys. We thank you from the bottom of our heart. And I do want to add another person that I've been seeing lately, two more. Nancy Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
We love you, Nancy. Love you. And also Valerie Manpo. Thank you, Valerie. Yes. Thank you. We love you guys, and there ain't nothing you can do about it.
And we want to also continue to support Michelle.
Yes. Please support our very dear friend.
She's doing a lot of work in Montgomery.
She's shaking.
She's shaking some trees, and that's a good thing. Yes. She got to cut the head off the snake. She's doing that. So awesome.
So you guys, please watch Michelle. I'm also going to do a watch party for Michelle Summers. It's called Michelle Speaks. Beautiful woman. Yeah. And we love her, and we want you guys to join in and watch some of her stuff. You guys, it's our time.
Absolutely.
And it's about time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.